Okay, so I'll start the recording.
It leaves for me to say hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us. It's nice to see lots of faces I recognise and who are already very supportive of Scan Appeal, and some new people as well, so you're all welcome. I'm joined tonight by Neil from Extreme Energy. So I met with Neil last year with the vague idea that we might do a walking event for Scan Appeal. And Neil pulled together the concept and created what has become the Bucks Hospital Hike. So Neil will share with you shortly all of his experience and the big plan behind the hike. But obviously our main issue, or our main mission, is to raise some money for Scan Appeal. So I think obviously you all know, most of you know who Scan Appeal are, but I say for the new people on the call, we are a local charity. We are celebrating our 35th anniversary this year, and we have been raising fundraising for the NHS for 35 years. Our mission in simple terms is to make sure that the local hospitals have the very best medical equipment. Local hospitals being in the main Wycombe, Stoke, Mandeville and Amersham. And as I say, our mission is to put the very best equipment in there. Good examples of this is our recent completion of the Bucks MRI appeal, which put 2 state-of-the-art MRI scanners into Bucks, one of them in Wycombe and one of them at Stoke Mandeville. These kind of scanners wouldn't be purchased by the NHS alone. They would replace scanners with very much sort of off-the-shelf models. With our support, they've got the very best, and actually the scanner that arrived in Wycombe at the beginning of last year, just as we were sort of going into lockdown, was the first of its kind to be seen in the UK. So until then, the nearest one was Germany. So I think that just gives you a real flavour of what we're trying to do. Currently, we're raising funds for a surgical robot. Again, this is equipment that isn't in Bucks currently. It's in neighbouring counties, so Oxford Hospital probably being the nearest one to us. But there is an increasing need for the use of surgical robots in our hospitals. And what we want is, we want this equipment here in Bucks so that actually people can be treated on their own doorsteps. If you're facing surgery, if you're facing lots of worry regarding your health, the last thing you really want to do is then have to travel further afield to a hospital to get the treatment you need. So that's one of our main reasons for fundraising and doing what we do. We want the very best equipment here in Bucks so that the people living here in Bucks can benefit from it. I won't tell you too much more than that right now, because I think the main point of this evening is to look at the walk and the challenge that we're setting for this year. So this is a new mission for us, something very new, but very exciting. So we're hoping to get a team of up to 40 people together to do this, with the aim of raising £35,000. And we would love you to be a part of it. So I'm going to hand you over to Neil, who's got lots of detail and lots of know-how how to make these things work, and lots of reassurance as well about what a hospital hike will involve. Okay. So thank you, Neil.
All right, Karen, thank you for that introduction. I'm just going to stop sharing so we can see everyone. So thank you all for attending this evening and for being part of this. And I'm just going to try and share as much as I can about the walk and what to expect during, over the 2 days, and how we're going to help and support you. So we've been doing this, my company, and we've been doing this for about 15 years now, organising multi-day events, and just recently things like these charity walks have become incredibly popular, and we did a very, very successful one for a local hospital charity last year that raised a huge amount of money for them. So what I'd like you to do, though, because you're investing time being here this evening, you're investing time to be supporting this event and this great charity. So in the chat at the bottom, you see there's a chat icon. What I'd really love to understand, and you don't have to shout it out, just put it in the type, because it's always useful to understand what's motivating you to want to take on such a massive challenge. you know, walking 50 miles over 2 days in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, as you all know, because I know many of you live here. But what's motivating? Just pop in the chat. What's driving you? What's motivating you? Why would you take on this kind of challenge and all the training you're going to have to do to get there? Because what I've learned over the years is the why is what will get you through the hard times. The why of you're doing this, what's driving you to do this, is what will make you get up when it's raining and you've got to go out and do 8 hours of walking, or will get you through the hard times during the event. So it's important to think about that why and what's motivating and driving you. So just pop that in the chat, would be great to understand. And also please use the chat for any questions you've got as I go through this this conversation. Okay, so yeah, please just pop them in the chat and I'll answer them, and we'll have a Q&A at the end as well. Okay, so let me share the screen again. So 2 days walking from Amersham to Stoke Mandeville, staying overnight in Princess Risborough, then from Princess Risborough to High Wycombe Hospital, and then from High Wycombe Hospital to Amersham. That's the outline plan of the event. 25 miles on day 1, 25 miles on day 2. So the first day looks like this. So we start at Amersham. Let me just show you the route in a bit more detail, actually, so that you can see it. Okay, so this is an OS Maps app, if any of you haven't seen it, and this is available to anyone. This is a public route that I've put up there so you can see the route. So you can see we're starting down at Amersham Hospital. Can everyone see that screen, by the way? Just give me a thumbs up, just so yep, you can see it. Okay, cool. And we're following, you know, along the valley, Shardlows, past Shardlows through to Little Missenden, and then we kind of cut up the hill a little bit here and down and down just up by Little Kingshill. We cut down towards Great Missenden along between the railway and the road. Once we get to the Black Horse pub, or what was the Black Horse pub, because I think it's closed now, we head up onto the South Bucks Way, and the South Bucks Way takes us towards Coombe Hill. Coombe Hill, there's a little kind of deviation here because I've added in the monument on Coombe Hill into the route so that, you know, you get the views from there. Then we head down the hill into the valley here, where a lot of the HS2 work's going at the moment. So this is the route that's proposed at the moment today. What happens in September, it may change a little bit based on diversions and so on. And then we get round to Stoke Mandeville here. And then we head back, still, this is all flat round here, back until we get to coming round through Kimblewick, down to, this is following the Chiltern Way actually, down to Great Kimble, and then we end up stopping at Princess Risborough. On the left-hand side here, you can see the profile of the route, so and where those hills are. So there's a little bit of an incline as we're coming up to Princess Risborough from the Vale of Aylesbury. So that's day 1. And then day 2, so we start at Princess Risborough. This route is so the first route is 100%, I'm pretty certain, unless HS2 messes up, that's where we're going to go. Day 2, I've got to go and check out a couple of the sections here. I've not had a chance to do that yet, especially around High Wycombe. So we're starting Princess Risborough, and we head along following the Ridgeway mainly here until we get to there's a path here that takes us up to Bledlow Ridge, and then there's a path that kind of follows just below the ridge line all the way to the Golden Ball, which is at West Wycombe here. And then from there, this section that winds up round here, behind Hewenden Park and so on, is, or Hewenden's here, sorry, behind Downley, is, that's the bit I've got to go and check because I don't know it well enough. And this bit through High Wycombe here, there's a route through here that I pulled off a OS map and a walking, and then we get down to Wycombe Hospital. This bit here, we're following the Rye along, for those of you know it. So this is reasonably flat here, and then we are heading up the hill towards Penn, and then back down towards Amersham Hospital. And you can see this is a little bit more of a hilly route. Looks like I don't know, a cardiogram, I guess, for this audience, but it's a very hilly up and down route. So that's the routes that we're gonna follow, and then the comments on the bottom here, by the way, I'll just bring your attention to those, are from people who have done these type of events with us before. And so you'll see comments on here about the way the team support people, the fact that you've only got to think about one thing. So one of the philosophies we have is that when you turn up to Amersham Hospital on the first day on Saturday morning, the only thing you've got to think about for the next 48 hours is getting one foot in front of the other. That's it. And we're going to do everything else. We take care of everything because we want to make you absolutely possible for you to finish the event. And let me just pause on that for a moment, because 25 miles each day sounds like a big challenge, and it is a big challenge, and it's deliberately designed as a big challenge to enable you to go out to people and get them excited about sponsoring you. If it was too easy, it makes it a little harder for you to go and say to people, I'm doing this really big challenge. So it is challenging. It is doable though. You know, we had an event last year which was 20 miles a day for 4 days, and we had everybody from 20-year-olds to 70-year-olds doing the event, and everybody finished it. And we will help and make sure, and my whole team and the medic team will make sure everybody gets through it. Plus the training plan we give you, if you follow the training plan, if you go out and do the walks, we'll get you through it. Okay. And because we don't have the COVID issues that we had last year, we can probably even, you know, you could get together as groups and do some walks together as well, which is a really good way of motivating each other. So bottom line on this chart here, it says everything you're going to get from us, which is everything apart from the walking. Okay, so you've got to do that bit. We'll do everything else. The overnight is in Princess Risborough School. If anyone knows the school, there's a massive new sports hall there. We use it a lot for our events. We've got camp beds we set up around the hall there. It's a real, you know, it's a little bit of a difficult concept to get your head around, sleeping in a school hall with 40 other people, but actually, honestly, it's great fun. It's great, and there's a really nice sixth form canteen there which we use, where the sun goes down. They've got this big glass window and the sun goes down just outside this window, and you sit there with a glass of wine at the end of the day telling stories about your walk, and it's a really nice location. Sleeping there on the camp beds and stuff, you know, you won't have the same kind of night's sleep you'd have in your own bed, but you're with everybody else, you're experiencing the whole thing together. The showers and the toilets and facilities like that are outstanding there as well. We provide aid stations on the route, so we'll have at least 2, maybe 3 aid stations each day, which will have food, water, hot drinks, that kind of thing. And at least one of those will be in a village hall or something like that, so that we've got a solid place where there are toilets and things that you can use. Medical staff, so we've got medical staff out with us for the 2 days. They typically are busiest in the evening and in the morning because they're dealing with people's feet and just, you know, helping with the aches and pains. And what we have done in the past is we've had a physio come along and do stretching and massage and stuff like that as well. So we could build that into. I've put evening activities down here. That typically revolves around having a beer, having a glass of wine and telling lots of stories, but we have organised quizzes and all sorts of other activities we can do. Just sitting down, you don't have to stand up for them, but just, you know, fun kind of activities. So that's kind of the package. I've talked about Princess Risborough School. Timings, this is roughly what my outline is for the timings at the moment. Early start on the first day because it is a long day and we want to make sure everybody gets in before it's dark. We have dinner so that we have caterers come in and cook a meal for us or provide a meal for us. And then the next day is an early start too, and we finish back where you started on the first day. What I didn't mention is we have guides with you, so you'll be split into groups with guides. Typically, if there's 40 of you, we'll have probably 5 groups with 5 guides based on the pace of group that you want to be in. And those guides also have GPS trackers on them as well, so we can actually see where each group is, and you can send those links to your supporters and so on route. And a lot of the fundraising sponsorship that I've seen in these events before comes during the event. When you send pictures of your feet, or when you send pictures of or people are following you on the tracker, those kind of things motivate people to go online and start paying a bit of money towards for you. So we have the guides out there that are helping you. And if there's someone who's really slow at the back, we'll just stick a guide with them. So they'll just have their own personal escort to get them through the event. So, you know, our job is to get everyone through it and make sure everyone has a good time. So that is an outline. Let me just pause there for a sec and stop the screen share. And let me have a look at some of the questions we've got. It's walking, not running. I've seen all scan appeals as for trust, and I know them. Okay, great. That's the reason why. Perfect. So there's some, if you can see those, the reasons why in there are brilliant. New challenges and taking on, and it is a great, you know, if this is September, it gives you 8 months to really focus on your fitness or your, you know, a personal goal for the year. Okay, has anyone got any questions they want to raise? You know, we're a small group, so, you know, shout out if you've got any questions.
You got a question, Pen?
Well, I'll ask one question in terms of this stay at the school, because obviously I understand that the fun bit, but I suppose some people, if they're local, would want to go home to their bed for the night. So is it sort of mandatory that you stay at the school, or what's the sort of views on that?
No, from our point of view, you know, it's not a school trip, so you guys could go home if you want. Just make sure you're back the next morning in time to get started. Okay.
What's your thoughts on that, Bill? Have you got any?
Why she asked that question.
What's my thoughts on that? Well, I have to sleep on that. I'm far more interested when you showed the maps up there, Neil. I was surprised at the amount of time it took. 11.5 hours roughly for each day. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah. So that's on the OS. So if you think about 3 miles an hour is kind of the pace we need people to be walking at. That's and that's, you know, so by the time you've done the training and stuff, that's kind of what you'll be at. Right. Some people will be faster, and some people might be slightly slower. But if you're doing 3 miles an hour, you know, you're looking at with stops and rests and things like that, you're looking at probably 9-10 hours.
Okay.
That kind of.
I mean, sounds good. I'll be interested to see the training plan, because I've done lots of activities over the years for Scan Appeal and other charities, but walking is quite knackering, isn't it? Long distance.
It's
not so, Bill.
So it's a mindset, because it's actually harder to walk a marathon than run a marathon.
I can believe that,
because you're on your legs for longer. And you know, I do a lot of ultra running and lots of long distance stuff, but the great thing about walking is it's you've got a lot more time to think, and you've got a lot more time to chat, and the conversations going on in the groups and the friends made in these type of events is quite amazing. Talking about training plans, let me just share with you one I pulled together for another walk we did. This is just a 3-month plan, but it gives you an idea of the kind of thing. And it's a mixture. So you start short. So we're looking at 5 miles back to back, and back to back's really key. When you're doing multi-stage, you have to practice what you're going to do in the event. So doing back to backs is important. But we've also got in here things like stretching and yoga, because that's also flexibility is key to stop you getting injuries. Things like cross training, and that could be going to on a bike or could be going to the gym, doing some strength training. So you've got a mixture of things, and as you look at the mileage building up, you know, the longest weekend you're doing is this one here. It's 30 miles. You know, this was a slightly different event, but you know, I just thought I'd show this as an example. So yeah, you're looking at 2 back-to-back days there that are reasonably long. But if you haven't got the time to do all of this, but can do 50% of it, so long as you're doing the long walks, you know, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Do you have any kind of recommended training routes that are local? I'm relatively new-ish to the area, and my dog walks a max 4 miles. I don't have anywhere in my repertoire that's longer.
So what I would suggest we do is, when we've got a group that have signed up, is we have once a month, we all get together on a Zoom call like this, or if we can get together face to face, we do that. And that's the kind of thing we can talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you go that OS Maps app I showed you, if you go on there, you'll find hundreds of local walks around the Chilterns.
Okay.
Literally hundreds. So you just pick a distance and then it'll pull up the routes you want to walk.
Okay, thank you. I'll have a look.
I mean, Neil, could you walk part of the route as training?
Oh, of course, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
You know what's coming then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's always good to walk the last 10 miles because then you know what's coming in the last 10 miles as well each day.
So we can do it, Pen. That's great.
Good bugger.
So what, any other kind of questions, any concerns you might have about, you know, what would hold you back from saying, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this?
No.
One of the things that I always thought would, because it was walking and it perhaps would be easier for more people to do it, I was hoping we might attract more than 40 actually. And part of my original concept would we might get schools involved, and maybe they wouldn't do 50 miles, but they might do 25 miles. Because I think having gone to all the organisation and the expense and, you know, the timing, etc., it seems a shame not to maximise the potential earnings from it. And a mass participation on a walk is easier than the bike rides we've done or the marathons or whatever, or the hill climbs.
Yeah. So look, if you want to look at how you could develop it, there are some limitations. So 40 people in the school is a comfortable number without being on top of each other. So staying over, that's a comfortable number. I mean, we've got an event this weekend on the North Downs Way, and we've got like 120 people in a smaller hall than that. So, but that they're kind of hardened ultra runners. It's a completely different group of people. The idea of getting, I don't know, schools involved or whatever, you know, so it's not a marked route. So we're not marking the route, and that's why we have guides. And the reason we do that with these type of events is you don't have to worry about where you're going, about navigation and all that kind of stuff. And it is, you know, it's not just, you're not just following the Chiltern Way or the Ridgeway, where you could just kind of get on with it and it would be okay. You know, you are going to need to be able to navigate. So our guides will navigate, so you don't have to worry about that. So if we do, and there is a limit to the number of people in a guided group as well. And again, that doesn't mean we've got a limit on the number of guides. We could bring more guides in, but it does mean we have to, because what happens is you have too big a group. You have someone who's slow at the back, some people who fast at the front, and you get a bit of people being unsatisfied with their event because they're not doing it at their pace.
Okay.
So
yeah. Maybe a different.
Could you not do it sort of, you know, if somebody thinks they could manage 25 miles and that's it, they're done. Could you not have people just say, well, I'll do one day and, you know, get sponsorship for their one day because people realise that that's a big challenge for somebody for one day for 25 miles. Could you do that? And then you wouldn't have the problem with restrictions at the school hall. Yeah,
but I think the route, the fact that the routes are marked, you've got to have guides per 8, for example, that all starts to get a little complicated. I understand that. Maybe that the mass or the higher volume is maybe another event. I'm very keen.
Just wondering if day one's, you know, sort of an easier one to in terms of a route. You say if people just, you know, you had 60 or something for the first day, then you wouldn't have to have those people guiding on the second day, and they wouldn't have to stay at the school. They could go home afterwards.
So Karen knows this. I say this all the time. Is anything's possible. So we can do anything. There, from a raising money point of view, this type of multi-day challenge will raise you more money. The one-day option, I think we did talk about it, Karen, and there was a decision not to offer that yet. Okay. It might be something that's offered in the future. Not my decision. I think it was a charity decision.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we can look at things such as the last day. I mean, if people are thinking family and friends would like to come and join them, maybe there's an option, Neil, where family and friends could join in at a certain point for the last few miles of the walk or something like that. Because, you know, I mean, I haven't done a 2-day event before, but I've done a longer walk as a challenge event. And I know it's those last few miles that actually you start to struggle. And actually, maybe that's the point on the last day that we could introduce some more people to sort
Yeah,
of
but there's only
motivate.
the only reason to introduce more people is
Just to raise money.
to raise money. We don't want people to come around for an afternoon walk. You know.
Yeah, I'm trying to see through Bill's point of saying, well, let's have double the number of people, but we obviously you've got the limits of the school hall and all the rest of it. So I'm just wondering if you could, but that's fine.
Maybe that's another event. I mean,
yeah.
I was hoping we'd get away from 30 people that we've arm wrestled to do something, which is a small amount of people, and it raises, you know, they all do extremely well, but it doesn't raise huge. It's not hundreds of thousands of pounds or even 100,000. And I was hoping we might find an event where we can, you know, get something like the High Wycombe Marathon, but being it walking and involve a lot more people. And it would appeal to a lot more people. I think the length we've chosen is not suitable for mass participation, and it's probably too tough. So we're going to have to rely on arm wrestling our 40 paddies and hope that they raise a lot of money.
As wrestling, William, I describe it as warmly welcoming our supporters to come and join us on this event.
What quick question for me? What if we're trying to recruit some people to come and support us? What are the base costs they've got to take into consideration to participate?
Okay, yeah, so that's a good question. So we're asking everyone to commit to a registration fee of £75.
Yeah,
and then a sponsorship commitment of £1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for some people that haven't done sponsorship events, £1,000 might seem daunting. But I think we have to remember what Neil said is that, you know, this is a challenge, and because it's a challenge, it should be easier to get sponsorship. You know, in my mind, you can describe this as doing a marathon a day for 2 days. And actually fundraising doesn't have to be limited to sponsorship alone. So we've had great success with people that have done marathons and things like that in the past, by actually running sort of social events with friends and family and raising money that way. Often also businesses, if you work for a local business, often businesses will do match funding, so they will match any money that you raise for charity. So I think there's lots of options, and I think anyone who's committing this month, it would equate to needing to raise £125 a month between now and when we walk. And so, for, you know, touching again on what Neil said earlier, you know, my own personal experience is that you can slog away at your fundraising and you can feel that actually it's a big hill to climb, but actually it's in those final months leading up to the challenge, and actually whilst you're doing it, that you will see a peak in donations. And I think it's all about telling the story about what you're doing. So I think that's where we as a team at Scan Appeal can support people in telling the story and getting the sponsorship, and supporting with the promotional items and ideas sort of as how to raise the most amount of money. So yeah, so that's where the sort of where we're set as far as the registration fee of £75 and then a sponsorship commitment of £1,000.
Well, I'm in.
Yeah, well, we're in. Yeah, when did I be in?
Yeah, we're in.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's
Fantastic.
wonderful. So I'll send sign up links to you all.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we'll you know, I'm sure we'll go through our networks and try and persuade our close buddies to, you know, do it and look at a fun weekend.
Yeah,
I got one quick proviso on I'm in, only if Bill's staying in the Princess Risborough School.
Yay!
I'll definitely stay if Penny does the walk.
Oh,
So Bill, you're just taking your mic off, but could I just put you on the spot quickly, because you're, as a supporter of Scan Appeal, you've raised a lot of money for us in recent years, and what would you say to encourage people to sign up and do this?
Get the camp bed next to Bill. That's what I would say. I'd pay the £1,000 alone just to have that space.
they were auctioning you off here, Bill.
It's
one of those.
it's
Not the walking I'm worried about.
It's one of those. It's one of those feelings. I put it in the chat. So charity work, if you've been on the other side of people sending out links saying I'm raising money, you don't really understand fully until you've been the other side where you've needed that equipment. And for me, needing that equipment, and when you're faced with an illness like I've been faced with, it's easier to look at how I can make my situation better by reading the stuff that, you know, Scan Appeal do, and they are amazing. It's easier to read that stuff than the stuff that impacts your life through your illness. So all I would say is whether you're doing it yourself. So 50 miles is a lot, so don't get me wrong. And it's nice listening to people thinking, do you know what, I'm gonna have to do lots and lots of training. But I promise you, if you can be that person that helps to give the gift back without them even asking, it's probably one of the best feelings in the world. And I'm talking about one of those people that have received it. So the likes of Bill, who's been with Scan Appeal for a long, long time raising money, I never knew him, but he was ultimately doing all these challenges to help me out, and he never knew it. Now I know him, I can thank him personally, and you know, I will always make sure that I do anything I can for Scan Appeal. So if that helps.
It
That does help. Thank you, Phil.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, that silenced us all, Phil.
Yeah, that's done it. Yeah.
It's a great,
Okay.
great note to finish on, I think.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Well, thank you. I look forward to seeing you out on the trails as well.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Definitely.
All
Thanks
right,
for organising.
bless you.
Look forward to it.
Brilliant.
Thank you. So I'll pop an email through to everyone so that everyone's got my direct contact details.